Hello and welcome to another episode of TalKenn. Today we're not gonna talk about movies nor video games. We're gonna talk about travel. The first travel related edition of TalKenn. The reason being is because I just came back from Ho Chi Minh, Vietnam. I was there for a short holiday with the missus, and I was surprised by the city. To be honest, I thought it's earlier. My only experience with Ho Chi Minh was seeing glimpse of it in war movies and more recently Top Gear Vietnam Special. So when I went to the city, my expectations were low, but as I left, it changed a lot. Uh, by the way, this is not my first time in Vietnam. My first time in Vietnam was in Da Nang towards September 2017. But Ho Chi Minh is a different experience altogether. So right off the bat, I will share with you stuff that I learned, from booking, where to stay, what to do, the cost, how much it would, how much you have to bring and everything. So for a start, flying there from Malaysia will take you around 1.5 hours. So we got a cheap ticket. It was an MAS flight. It was there was a sale like a few months back, so we decided to pick it up. Um, Flew from KLIA. I think we took the 12 o'clock or was it 2 o'clock flight. We reached there around 3 or 4. The distance from the airport to the city is roughly 30 to 40 minutes, not much traffic jam. So don't worry, you might be kind of taken aback with the traffic because traffic light is pretty much pointless in Vietnam. Um, the They're just crazy. If you've seen Top Gear Vietnam, you've seen all those bikes. It hasn't changed. It's just like that. In terms of cash to get from the airport to the city center, we stayed in District 1, yeah, nearby Ben Thanh Market. So it will cost you around 300,000 Vietnamese dong. It's translated to be around 50 bucks, if I'm not mistaken. So that's around there whereabouts. For the phone side, I use Digi, and to roam in Vietnam will cost me 56 ringgit per day. So I would not recommend it. I would recommend you get a local SIM, which you are able to buy for around 220,000. That's around 50 bucks ish. So 40 to 50 bucks. That will give you around 5 gigs of memory, 5 gigs of data, so it should be useful for you. So right off the bat, you would spend from the airport to your hotel around 500,000, half a million Vietnamese dong. But that's roughly around maybe 100 bucks, which is not bad because you get 5 gigs of data and you get transport to the city. That's by a normal airport limo, right? So where to stay? We stayed at District 1. It's just right, almost literally opposite Ben Thanh Market. Ben Thanh Market is pretty much the largest market in Ho Chi Minh, I think. I don't think it's all of Vietnam, but it's in Ho Chi Minh, right? It's like the middle in District 1. So it's pretty much the market you go for to buy souvenirs. You want to buy the Vietnamese star, the communist star t-shirts, it's there. You want to buy knockoffs, it's there. Louis Vuitton, Chanel, whatever. And they accept credit cards. So if you are worried about all these people talking about pickpockets, people slashing bags or whatever, you can just walk around with your credit cards if you want to go to Ben Thanh Market. It's not as packed. There are people that's constantly moving. You can use your credit cards there, so it's good. But my tip would be look around and don't open small talk like the way you do in Malaysia, because the sellers can be very, very aggressive. They would actually grab your hand, try to force you, try to guilt you into buying stuff. So just walk around, go 3 or 4 rounds until you decide what you want to buy, and then go on a hard bargain. Because whatever that's being sold, you should be able to go down around 30 to 40% off the first advertised price. If you want to buy coffee, because normally people buy coffee out of Vietnam, I would recommend buying it there, because after 3-4 days walking about, the cheapest are still in Ben Thanh Market. So don't buy your coffee just before until the day you leave, because you want to keep it fresh. The coffees are sold in beans, and they will they'll grind it for you. Um, Price range from 70,000 Vietnamese dong per 100 gram, if I'm not mistaken. Yes, per 100 gram. So the traditional Vietnamese coffee will go around 75 to 80,000. The more expensive one, the kopi luwak, or the one that weasel eat and shit, that will cost you a bit, maybe 100 to 120,000. So you can choose, right? Um, the thing that people always drink when you're in Vietnam is the Vietnamese iced coffee, cà phê soda, if I'm not mistaken, cà phê or whatever. And it should not cost more than 30,000 Vietnamese dong. The cups are really, really small. It's probably like that, and then you just 2-3 sips and you're done. You can get it almost everywhere, so don't worry about going out of your way to find it. It normally starts from between 15 to 20,000. You can even buy it from the local mart. There's no, I don't think I've seen any 7-Eleven, but they have a lot of, I forgot, C Mart or CK Mart or whatever, and you can buy it there as well for 20,000. What else? Okay, so that's buying stuff, right? If you want to eat, banh mi will cost you around 30 to 40,000 depending on what filling. Normally I like the one with egg, so it costs me around 50,000 Vietnamese dong. That's like 7 ringgit, I guess, 6 to 7 ringgit, so it's pretty good. In ringgits, yeah, not dollars. So a 10 ringgit will take you far. You will be full with 10 ringgit. And then if you want pho is pretty much everywhere. It's all about your choices, whether you want to go for something that's just next by the roadside or pretty much in store, whatever. But they will cost you around 45 to probably 70,000, depending on how much meat or what sort of meat you want to put on. On average, I spend around 55,000 Vietnamese dong per bowl, which is, even though they say it's small, it's pretty much, you'll be there for a few days, so you won't get tired of pho. In terms of halalness, it's not a Muslim country, so there are a lot of beef there. Pork is pretty much served side by side, so just, I think, what's that word in Bahasa? Yakin or whatever, if you go there, you should be aware. Although I noticed next to Ben Thanh Market towards the back, there are a lot of hotels which I think caters to a lot of Malaysians, because there are lots of halal eateries, just like a mama. I've seen a lot of Malaysians walking about, and I don't know, I wasn't wearing a Malaysian jersey in Ben Thanh Market, but when they see me, they call me abang, and they say like murah, beli baju or whatever. So for Muslim Malaysians, if you're in Ho Chi Minh, at least District 1, as I know, you should have no problem finding food, alright? And then what else to do in District 1? District 1 is an interesting place because everything is within walking distance. Like I said, if you want to go Ben Thanh Market, it's where you buy all those shirts, those the tudongs, the kakak, you want to buy your langsir, whatever, it's there. But if you're into wartime stuff, like helmets, dog tags, camouflage or whatever, there's this market, it's called Dan Sinh Market, which is probably 20 minutes walk from Ben Thanh Market, and over there, initially it's a hardware place where you can buy almost everything. You want to buy hardware tools, chains, car belts or whatnot, it's there. But at one section are military stuff. So you can buy military helmets, most of them are probably knockoffs or reproductions, but it is kind of cool. They are cheap. So instead of going to MCOP Mall and buying some helmet for 300 or 400 ringgit, you can actually buy an authentic looking Vietnam War helmet, either the Viet Cong helmet or the Americans helmet, for as low as maybe 200 to 300,000 dong, which is like 45 bucks. So 30 to 45 bucks, you can buy a brand new helmet for just like 30 to 40 ringgit. So the name of the market is Dan Sinh, or you can search for Yersin, Yersin. Although the area is a bit rough, it's much rougher than Ben Thanh because it's a bit of the way, but it should be safe. A lot of tourists, whites are there. Most of the tourists in Ho Chi Minh are Caucasians. I don't see many Chinese, I don't see many Indians. A lot of Caucasians, probably Europeans, Australians too. And since we're talking about war stuff and District 1, one thing that you should not avoid from going whenever you must go if you're in District 1 or actually in Ho Chi Minh, would be the War Remnants Museum. It is just behind, not just behind Bentang Market, but it's probably like 15 to 20 minutes walk. It opens at 7:30 daily until 6 o'clock, I think, but people normally come early. So that's where you get to see all those tanks, Vietnam War tanks, helicopters, planes, or bomber planes, and that's on the compound. So you have all these vehicles on the compound. You can take pictures. You can't climb it, but they are really, really cool, well preserved. And then inside the building, if I'm not mistaken, 3 to 4 stories of essentially the Vietnamese War. So you get to see the after effects of Agent Orange. You get to see the war atrocities by the American soldiers. You can see after effects of the war. Doesn't matter from both sides. And there's a special floor actually, for photographers, remembering wartime journalists. So they actually have all this. I'm not sure whether they're original prints, but you know that famous picture of that girl running with napalm behind her. So it's there as well. I'm not sure whether it's original, but if you're into history, you're into Vietnam War, you're into basically, whenever you go into a city, you like to learn all this. It's worth it. Entrance fee is 40,000 Vietnamese dong, and once you enter it, you can just do whatever you want, right? I spent close to 2.5 to 3 hours over there because I took my time. So go there. Another must-visit site, people say when you're Ho Chi Minh, is the Chu Chi Tower, Chu Chi Tunnels. That's that thing where it's basically the network of tunnels that the Viet Cong dug during war times. My only issue is it will take you 1.5 hours drive out of town to go to it. I didn't go because I'm not a fan of, like, if I'm in another city, I don't want to spend another 1.5 hours driving out. So go for it if you're into those kind of things. But I decided to do my own treasure hunt when I was in Ho Chi Minh. Because if you can Google after you watch this video, it's called The Last Helicopter Out of Saigon. In 1975, when the North were rolling into Saigon, so the Americans were scrambling to go out, right, by helicopters. It was the biggest world's, to date, I think, helicopter evacuation out of a city. So there's this historic scene where they said the director of the CIA was boarding the final helicopter out of Saigon. And it's a helicopter perched on top of a residential building that was the embassy back then. So a friend of mine on Twitter sort of gave a challenge, go look for this building in Ho Chi Minh. So I found it. So to save you the trouble, if you want to find where is this iconic building called the Last Helicopter Out of Saigon, you go towards the cathedral. I think it's a Catholic cathedral, and you look straight at Viscom Tower. You will see that building, and it's quite interesting because not many people know about it. But once you see it, you understand the significance of that location. And the last point I want to point out about Ho Chi Minh is I just came to realize if the communists hadn't won the Vietnam War, meaning the Americans won it, Ho Chi Minh would look more like Seoul than what they are like right now, because it's pretty much the Korean War and the Vietnam War is basically this. It's just mirror images of each other. If the Americans won it, they preserved the South. This is what happens in Korea. So you see Seoul and you see Pyongyang. And if the communists have won, this is what happened to Ho Chi Minh. This is what happened to Vietnam. I know it's simplifying everything there, but yeah, that's how you see it. Apart from that, I think that's pretty much Ho Chi Minh. I spent 4 nights there, took my time. I spent a lot of time walking about. It's a fun city. It's clean. People might warn, you might have read warnings about pickpockets, people stealing money and whatnot. I decided to only carry cash when I walk about, and I left all my valuables at the hotel. So there you go. So if you have any other questions, comment section is down there. I don't know why I'm rambling today. I just like to share this kind of stuff because I think Ho Chi Minh is an interesting city. But it's one of those places where one and done. It's a cool place, but once you're done with it, you're pretty much done. You know, I don't see any reason for me to come back, except for the tunnels, which I'd probably rather spend the opportunity to go to another city. So thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next video.